is a contractor that's only licensed to do smaller jobs, say $10,000, can they split that into multiple smaller contracts to work around that limit? Let's talk about this. Okay, so typically what happens in most states or cities, municipalities, is they have different type of contractors licenses. Okay, so they'll have like your commercial license, we'll just call that a C1. They may have your residential one. They may have a residential 2, 3, 4. This might be a better way to do this. And then they may have like a repair. So it's going to be different in every state based upon it, but this is kind of the concept. So a given general contractor could have one of these licenses. So let's say he has a C4 license. Okay. Well, if he has a C4 license, he can do everything C1, 2, and 3. He can do everything R1, 2, or 3 because it's residential, commercial's bigger, and he can do repairs as well. So he would be able to do everything. Let's say that they had a residential 3 license. Now, let's say the residential 3 allowed you to go up to $500,000 in new construction, but it only allowed you to do $200,000 in remodel. Okay. So then somebody that's doing that couldn't do something higher. Let's say this was 700,000, but could do everything lower. What typically happens is somebody that has a handyman's license or repair license that has a limit of about $10,000 or $15,000, whatever the case is. This is what they'll try and do. Okay. What happens is, let's say the rehab on the house is $100,000. So this guy comes in and says, hey, why don't we do 10 contracts for $10,000 each? And now I will be, quote unquote, legal to do this job. That's not the case. This is actually called contractor licensing fraud in most states, because the concept here is, whether it's a new build or a remodel, the person who holds that license is not licensed to do more than that on the same project. So he could do 10 different deals as long as they were 10 different houses and it wasn't along the same house. What this license is basically doing is the state is saying, we trust this guy up to $10,000 of remodeling. We don't trust him for $15,000, we trust him for 10. So then with this one, it may say, hey, we trust this guy up to $100,000 of remodeling, but we don't trust him for $200,000, but we trust him to $100,000. That's the type of thing that you're dealing with here. So the idea is if it's on the same property, we're going to split that up into multiple contracts so we can avoid this cap. This is not something you want to get involved with. And in most states, they're going to call it contractor licensing fraud. It's not legal. It's not acceptable. It's not something that we can allow in any way, because for us, we're above board and want to be following all the laws. Also, the contractor could lose their license over this. The funding could be denied or delayed, where we're just like, we can't do that because it doesn't work out. And the project could be shut down. Literally, they could put a stop work order on the project from the city or the state saying you are no longer able to do work on this. And if they do that, in lots of cases, they'll go back in and require things to be brought up to modern day code versus the code that you had. See, when you build a house, okay, 2025, okay, you go and build a house, brand new. You have to have 2025 building code. That means plumbing, electric, all those different types of things, foundation, roofing, everything else like that. Well, let's say you go and buy a house that's 1980 and you remodel, not redo it all. Okay, so you're doing a remodel, everything else stays the same. Typically, in most jurisdictions, when you're doing the remodeling, you're only required to bring it up to the code that was in place at the time the house was built. Okay, so it's like, hey, okay, we have to make sure we bring it to this code, but we don't have to bring it to this code, which can get very expensive. What happens is if the city or municipality comes and puts a stop work order, nope, you can't do this work because you had a $10,000 contractor that was doing $100,000 worth of work. what they'll do is say, hey, we don't trust that he's done this right. So the only thing that we can rely on is saying you've got to bring it to current code. And they'll do that as a punishment, is really one of the things that can happen, and say, nope, you got to bring it up to current code, even though in most cases, if you're doing a remodel, you wouldn't have to. But since you went against the rules, the laws, they're going to say, nope, we're going to smack you in the face and make you bring it up to the 2025 code. Now, this isn't always the case, but I have seen this. I've dealt with this recently on a property, and this is brutal. It's expensive. It's not something that you want to have happen where they require you to bring up to the modern day code. So, bottom line, get a contractor that is licensed to do the full amount of the job that you're wanting them to do. If they're not licensed to do the full amount of the job, the state or municipality thinks they're not qualified to do any bigger of a job. So if they're not qualified to do that and can't get licensed to do that, why would you want to put your investment in that person that they could do the work when they don't have anything to back it up?